They told it like a rumor. A ledger could be kept like a ledger, fat with coin and ink. They did not know some ledgers keep different things. Pause. They keep names. They keep prices. They keep what people will pay when they have nothing left. In Hollow Creek, a book learned to want. Hollow Creek lived in the fold of land that maps pretended not to notice. Roads thinned to tracks. The mill wheel groaned at dusk. Houses hunched away from the river as if afraid of what the water whispered. On the highest ridge above the creek, a house stood out. Too white, with too many windows. A place people called the Pale House because it never seemed to warm in sun or storm. Elise Blackwell lived there. She was a woman the town respected because she was quietly useful. A mender, a midwife, a hand to write your name down when you could not remember the way the law wanted it. She kept one object on her desk that no neighbor could account for. An old wide ledger, bound in leather the color of old tea. The ledger arrived without thunder. It arrived the way most bargains arrive, in places that have run out of. Law and hope is a choice. A farmer with more mouths than coin knelt at Elise's gate. He begged for a season of bread. Elise did not ask for coin. She opened the ledger, dipped a quill, and wrote his name in a tidy iron-brown hand. The child slept that night. The barn's rats were gone. The ledger's line was neat. People do not refuse bread when the field gives a whisper of mercy. They come back when they are hungry. They bring names. They slide them into Elise's palm like folded notes. She would read and write. Her ledger measured balance like weather. They would learn rules by observation, not admission. Pause. Rule 1. A name inked on the page is a covenant. Once it dries, something will come due. Rule 2. The ledger measures not justice but consequence. It does not listen to who is kind or cruel. Rule 3. Currency is elastic and it can be coin. It can be warmth, it can be a voice or a laugh. Rule 4. Once the ledger claims a price, the world will rearrange itself to pay. Eris Coombs stole flour at dusk because times were hard. He told himself it was for bread and that bread was for the children. The ledger does not hear excuses. When his daughter fell sick with a fever, Harris came to the Pale House with a fist of coin and a head bowing under shame. Elise wrote a line, H. Coombs. Price 1 warmth for 1 night's sleep. She set the quill down. The child slept through the fever. Harris woke to find the north wall of his granary cold and the winter wood gone. He paid warmth with sleep. He paid without knowing he had signed anything but relief. Elise had watchers, women who scrubbed floors, who birthed babies by lamplight, a thin boy who ran errands. They were not monsters. They were people who understood the market of mercy. They brought names tucked in shawls and waited in the dark for small signals. The way a door jammed, the missing hat, the smell of smoke that did not belong. Some of them thought they were saving lives. Some thought they were balancing an old account. The ledger taught them to speak in low voices. It taught them to listen for what the reeds would not say. Then the signs came. Small things at first. A shoe abandoned on a bank. A cart with a broken wheel and no driver. A table with 1 extra place set that never had a guest. Lanterns moved of their own will. Dogs would not cross certain thresholds. Nights grew careful. Mothers closed shutters early. When footsteps passed, doors stayed latched. People began to count the hours in a new way. The ledger's hours. Ambrose Reed came from town with a clerk's habit of lists and warrants. He intended to file a complaint, to use inked law against inked superstition. He did not travel for gossip. He traveled because his brother had left for Hollow Creek and never returned. He sat at the Pale House table, the ledger within sight, and asked questions. Elise answered with small words. She would close the book with a snap and fold a scrap of paper into his palm. A list of names. A shorthand, nothing more. Ambrose filed the scrap into his mind and watched the house. Fear makes thieves of otherwise sober men. A drinking ring of villagers resolved to burn the ledger and end the fear. They came with torches and blunt courage. They smashed windows, forced floors, and found the book waiting on its desk like a patient thing. When they reached for the ledger, it slipped as if alive, tumbling into the reeds. Names spilled on the open page like water on ink. The smell that rose was iron and river rot. By morning, 3 of the torchbearers were gone. Ropes on the bank, footprints to the water, and nothing more. Elise's ledger did not care who laughed. Lila Penfold was a girl who liked to sing at dawn. 1 line appeared, Lila Penfold. Payment 1 laugh. The next day, the girl's mouth opened, but no sound came. Her mother slapped her cheek and heard nothing. People began testing boundaries. They learned silence could be currency. A baker paid for a week of trade in a child's voice. An innkeeper traded a lost lamb for a season of neighbors' quiet. The ledger's economy made monsters of the ordinary. Ambrose dug beneath the servants' floorboards and found folded slips. Names, notations, tiny instructions scribbled in a shifting hand. The scraps read like receipts for sorrow. One simply said, "Remain silent. Keep the account, balance to be exacted." Under that, "For the mistress." He took the scraps and placed them in his coat, certain that the law could unravel this ledger if given proof. That night a child came to the inn door and offered Ambrose a note. "You are counted." The boy's voice sounded like air sliding over glass. Ambrose felt something colder than fear. Ambrose chose to hunt. The ledger chose to hunger. And Hollow Creek, with its reeds and its bargains, held its breath between two beats of a book. As dawn broke over the cursed village of Blackwater Hollow, the mist began to fade, but the screams of the night still echoed faintly in the wind. Amelia stood before the burned remains of the witch's cabin, clutching the old pendant she had found deep within the forest. It glowed faintly, alive, pulsing with shadows trapped inside. The villagers emerged, silent, pale, and shaken. None dared to speak of what they had witnessed. The hollow had taken its toll. Some lost loved ones, others lost their sanity. And though the witch's body had turned to ash, her whisper lingered. "You cannot destroy what you have already become." Amelia dropped the pendant into the hollow stream. The water hissed as if alive, then turned black for a moment, before running clear once again. She walked away, trembling, knowing deep inside that some evils do not die. They wait. The camera pans up, showing Blackwater Hollow beneath a rising red sun. The forest sways, and faintly the witch's laughter echoes one last time. Some say the witch's spirit still roams the woods of Blackwater Hollow. Those who wander too far after midnight, they hear her whispers in the fog. And if you ever find a pendant glowing in the dark, don't pick it up, because she's still watching.